Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are joining us. I'm your host, Robert Karpelis, and I am joined, not as always, by Kevin Callum. Kevin, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm just processing a new reality. A new
Uh,
reality.
Look,
Where
here's the deal,
I
guys.
see I don't see color. I only see black and white now. Only good guy and bad guy.
I go away for one damn weekend.
One weekend.
Whole world falls apart.
Whole wrestling world falls apart.
Kevin, here's how I know something was odd. I was in Manhattan for a wedding over the weekend, so I'm like, I'm not gonna get a chance to watch Elimination Chamber live. I'm gonna mute my group chat with Dan, Mike, Scott, and Dom, the working stiff crew.
Avoid the spoilers.
I look at my phone, 492 missed text messages. I thought maybe an atomic bomb went off in the middle of the ring at some point, and it turns out, in reality, um, what the hell was that?
Is that a good what the hell is that? Or is that a bad what the hell is that?
Here's the deal, guys. Ladies, gentlemen, those folks joining us in the chat, live, those watching us all around the world on X and YouTube. I just finished watching Elimination Chamber about 30 minutes ago. Completely
You're
unspoiled.
fresh off of it.
I was in a bubble.
Robert, did you avoid the spoiler at all? Did you?
I avoided all. Here's the beauty of it. I was at a wedding Saturday evening with adults who were not watching the Elimination Chamber. That next day, Sunday, I boarded a plane, flew home. No one in my house is talking about it. Off social media, watched the Oscars. Woke up this morning. I'm like, you know what I'm going to get to do today? I'm going to get to watch Elimination Chamber at some point. Had to pause it to go do some work meetings. Took a quick break. Watch the finish, and here I am. So it's been a moment. It has not really had the chance to process and settle in the way that it has for you. So my reaction is going to be a little bit more knee-jerk than yours. And there's a whole card of Elimination Chamber that we can pretend to talk about.
Don't knee-jerk me around. All right, I want to know what your take is here, Robert.
There's a whole Raw preview we could talk about. Nobody cares. That was a bold storytelling decision on the part of the WWE. The question is whether or not this was a good or bad bold storytelling decision on the part of the WWE. I had an inkling. The minute that I realized that the Rock Cody segment was not happening during the show, that it was going to
end the show, right?
Yes. So I had at one point this thought that you were going to have this Cody Rock confrontation, and the idea of you have till the end of the night to give me an answer. Cena wins, ding, ding, ding. Cody comes out, lays out Cena. Hey, we have our answer. That seemed to register and make a lot of sense if that was the path of which they were going down. When they didn't go down that path, and you had John Cena and Cody facing off against each other, and the crowd in Toronto was having none of it, there was that second of panic of, oh, we're going to do a babyface John Cena, Cody Rhodes match that is going to feel lesser than. And
with like a Rock element in between them or something like that. Yeah.
It just didn't feel the epic moment that I think they wanted it to feel. And now I realize in some ways that was by design. That was their intention there was to make you not want John Cena, Cody, babyface at WrestleMania. And that here's a big, giant, rolling ball like an Indiana Jones of story to tell you. To tie this into a bigger, broader, more epic moment. What was your takeaway when you saw this?
I was there live.
You were there? Okay.
I was there live. And I remember it gets out right before the show. And I'm working for Sportskeeda. I'm doing on-site coverage and filming a bunch of different things, and was also going to film some stuff the next day at the Hockey Hall of Fame. So I had a full expectation. I'm in the rhythm of the event. I thought we'll talk about the rest of the card, but all everyone wanted to talk about walking out of that stadium, a stadium where, by the way, no one left, because the way that was executed was so clear. I will say it was noted that Triple H told the truck. He put that out there. I told the truck. It was all kept secret. Nothing got out. No one knew except the people that were getting in that ring. Some people started to find out the night of, but when that show started, no one knew. That's my understanding from talking to people in the business as well. No one knew about this until maybe an hour or so beforehand. And they weren't even the production people. The production people told Triple H is going to call all the shots once we get past the main event. So
I did hear they kayfabe the run sheet, and Hunter was calling stuff.
Yeah, and I also kayfabe that run sheet because some websites reported the run sheet, and that run sheet had the Cena Rock Cody segment, or rather the Rock Cody segment as we knew it, happening in the middle of the show. They even ran a video package that would have played in that order of here's a video package to present the story of this match. If you're just tuning in, you're a casual fan, here's what's going on. And then they went into another video package for another match. So we're not getting that. All right, that's interesting. So they're going to put that on last? All right, because they're not going to put it on right before the main event. They would put it in the middle, or they put it on near the end. And they put it on at the end. And they went right from Cena's triumphant moment, wild, fun storytelling. The Elimination Chamber match was absolutely great. It was one of the best worked Elimination Chamber matches they've had in a long, long time, with a guy who's maybe in his 12th or 15th match. Kudos to Logan Paul. He's doing a lot of great stuff. It was fun. But that ending was cool. CM Punk didn't look like he got jobbed out. He went to the ending. He got screwed. You can do something with him and Rollins. You're spinning all the plates, but now you're doing Cena versus Cody, which on paper is fun, but we have a whole lot of time before we get to WrestleMania, and the time before you get to WrestleMania has to be compelling to get you to WrestleMania, right? You know that. You could do a fun angle, and then it dips out in the valleys, and then you're working to get them back. This is not that case. People were slingshotted out of their seats by what happened. There were people that were like, had their stuff ready to go, and then they put it down when they realized something is going to happen here. And even if we kind of saw it maybe 30 seconds before it happened, you're like, they're not actually going to do that. They're not actually going to do it. But if you're a hardcore fan, you're a casual fan. You're just a mark fan. They got you. Hook, line, and sinker. People that are bitter, that, talk about 5-star ratings and all these different things, and maybe even watch podcasts like ours. No shot at anyone, right? But the fact that they got you, this was the plan. 2 weeks ago, everyone's confused about what The Rock is doing. Maybe there were some weird things with execution there. I don't know. I'm not judging. But if this was the plan then, if this was the plan when they started in January, this has been well executed, and it plays off of the mass psychology they had last year with, all right, the audience turned on what we were going to present to them. Let's give them more of what they want and then some, and a twist that compels them to stick around. You're getting a lot here, and you're going to get a different John Cena you've never seen before, or maybe you've only seen slivers of here and there. You're going to get The Rock if you're a casual fan. If you're a diehard fan and you've been running with Cody and you want a good guy to fight a bad guy, you're going to get that meat and potatoes, but a new spice to it as well. This was so well executed. This is one of the wildest things I've ever seen in live wrestling. And people were losing their minds over this, absolutely losing their minds. People were cheering for the moment because they got to see a moment. But once it settled in, they were booing John Cena.
So what I find so funny is, like I said, I had the 200 something plus text messages floating around. The response for 400 plus from Scott Chaplin, fellow host, hated every second of this. This is so stupid. This is dumb. This is clown shoes. This is the worst thing I've ever seen. This is laughably bad. And I'm just reading it, and I'm like, he's so worked up about this. He turned himself into a mark over it of how dumb this is. This is so stupid. This is the worst thing I've ever seen.
He could text you that, but he couldn't say it because the hook is in his mouth.
Exactly. And I love that. I love that. It's just like, this is ass. This is Robert Downey Jr. pulling off the Dr. Doom mask. Like, this is so cheesy. And I'm like, great. This felt like from the moment The Rock got involved, hey, something is going to feel slightly epic. It might not be good, but it's going to feel important. And one of the things that we have sort of talked about of late is this idea that they want there to be those big signature moments. And I do feel this was more planned out than folks want to believe it was,
Mhm.
because when John Cena lost at the Royal Rumble and announced that he was going into the Elimination Chamber, the tide around what he was saying turned into F this guy. That he's not going to wrestle to get into the Elimination Chamber. He's just taking a spot. This doesn't feel right. He's not showing up every week on the build to Elimination Chamber.
Heels do
Th-
that.
yeah, that's what people kept feeling like
Mhm.
this doesn't feel right. This has something is off. There's a pebble in the shoe, and maybe it is. Hey, John's schedule is the way that it is.
Yeah.
He's entitled to ask for this.
We'll give him the pass. He's John Cena.
We're going to give him the pass.
Yeah.
Then there's the part that realizes that John Cena right now is very much an actor, in the same way The Rock is very much an actor, where The Rock is over the top about, hi, I'm Dwayne Johnson, and tonight I'll be playing heel Rock. John has not had the opportunity to do a full-on heel turn. That was something when we were there, we were not allowed. Like, that was never going to happen. This is back in 2005. The idea was that it was never going to happen. And much like the Undertaker's streak is, it's never going to end. It's what's a big epic thing, good, bad, or indifferent, that we can throw at this crowd and see what happens. We know Cody's favorite match of all time is Hogan Rock at WrestleMania 18, where that crowd organically did what they were going to do.
Oh, I love where you're going with this.
You have that opportunity for that energy at WrestleMania. We know that The Rock's most watched or not most, but probably most profitable match was WrestleMania 17. That's sort of the apex of Attitude Era wrestling. And we never got the chance to tell the proper Steve Austin heel turn story, in part because Triple H tore his quad, in part because they fell into the WCW invasion and they lost the through line. They now have a chance to kind of correct what we didn't get at WrestleMania 17, and also potentially replicate that moment at WrestleMania 18. And I think that is the appeal that these guys have versus, hey, we're going to get John Cena versus Cody Rhodes, babyface, and risk damaging the Cody Rhodes machine that we've built.
And also risk damaging what you have with John Cena in his final year too. So now it's a win-win. You know, if to me, either outcome is compelling. Like, if Cody can defeat this John Cena, he can have that moment for a new generation with the same type of tones to play and the same parts to play. And The Rock can be involved and be a compelling character. I keep bringing up compelling because it's like you have The Rock doing something that isn't like hosting WrestleMania or coming out for a promo. No, he's a character who moves a story. He's a character who now is a modern day Mr. McMahon. But we don't have to worry about all the Miss McMahon stuff. We have The Rock, and he's personable, and he has this character that's erratic and can come in and just change the show when he wants to change the show. You know, like another character that did that same thing with Corporate Power. But this guy can wrestle, and if the time calls for him to get physical, you buy the physicality. It's fun. So that box is checked. For John Cena, you're going to see him try something different. We'll get redeemed John Cena before the end of the year. I don't feel like that's a bad bet to make. We will get John Cena back in neon colors and jorts before the end of 2025. And you will see him play the hits before he's done, right? Now, if he wins his 17th world title as this new succumb to the dark side, I just need this to win the title one more time. If you weren't with me before, I'm sorry, I have to do this. Like, I can buy that, and he's a character who can pull that off, you know, and enough fans have equity in him over time and investing that they'll care. But for Cody, he's the guy who's going to carry this story into WrestleMania. He's going to be there more than The Rock and Cena are. He's going to have more challenges from them. Who are the fill-in players for The Rock side? I think that's where a Jacob Fatu comes in. I think that's where other people come in and become the playoff, you know, rounds for Cody to get to WrestleMania. And I'm on board. And if people aren't, it's just, you just don't want to be on board to say you're not on board. You want to be contrarian and different stuff like that. That was the best heel turn we've seen in 30 years. Period. Like, and they're going to make merchandise off of it. They're going to do all these different things with it. I want to watch what they're going to do next. And I've been watching this my entire life. And I think somebody who's casual is asking me about it. I had people who don't follow wrestling asking me about this. I had people in sales ask me about this, saying like, how are they going to sell this? Or what are they? I was like, they're going to do a bunch of different merchandise and make a whole lot more money with it. And then go back to the thing they were already making money with before. I'm all for bald Cena. Is he going to change his look? Are we going to have new theme music? That was a big thing. He did the Chris Van Fleet interview a year or two ago, and he said, like, I had all this stuff. Were you working around then? Were you there in 2012? Does that line up with you?
No, I was way before then.
Okay, all right. But
So
when
the onset of Cena's title run.
But the discussions of him being heel when he was already babyface, what were those like internally in WWE? I know, just for your perspective, being at the table.
Yeah, it's always a derivation of the same thing, which is number one, Guy is the one who's selling all of our merchandise. You cannot disrupt the cash cow because that's gonna impact everybody's wallet for the chance to take a shot at telling a compelling short-term story, but there was no one to step up and suddenly now start selling that merchandise that Cena was not selling.
They have all that now.
Right.
They have
He was their go-to Make-A-Wish guy. You don't want to tarnish that. And number three, in Vince's mind, as long as that crowd is reacting to John, it doesn't really matter. They want to boo him, he's a heel. They want to cheer him, he's a face. He's going to be the John Cena character. And if we give them what they want, that potentially goes away. But this is part-time Hollywood John Cena. And the guy that he attacked the most for doing that was The Rock. And now this idea of, I get it now. I finally understand where you were coming from, Dwayne. You made all the sense in the world. I see the light, and my job, my role, my responsibility is to break the all-time record, to be the unquestionable greatest of all time. And I'm going to do that no matter what, because this industry does not care about me. So I need to do whatever I can to preserve my legacy, and that's what I'm here for.
I'm here for all of it, man.
The inclusion of Travis Scott made this feel like a mainstream moment. I think Travis Scott, I thought he played this well.
He was weird.
Kind of hey, why is this guy here?
Yeah.
This is odd. But you couldn't stop watching it. And it's like, this is going to get play and press and publicity across the board.
A lot of people making Dennis Rodman comparisons. Was he out there a little inebriated, a little loosey-goosey? But I don't know for sure. I'm not going to make that. He's out there waving sage in the air.
Yes.
He was, the last time they had him on television for the Netflix premiere, he was clearly smoking something. So, bad boy's going to do bad boy things.
But that's going to make that moment even bigger. That you have one of the biggest, music stars in the world standing there for that moment.
Yeah.
And John Cena's over-the-top goofiness of celebrating what Cody was saying was so cheesy and so ridiculous that if he didn't turn heel, we'd be having a very different conversation today. We'd be talking about this Mania may go off the rails. And instead, the conversation is, what the hell are they going to do next?
So we're getting Cena, bad guy, with The Rock maybe in his corner, versus Cody Rhodes. We're seemingly going to get some combination of Rollins, Punk, or Reigns, or all three. All right,
that definitely feels like a triple threat match because at the end of the chamber, there was other stuff that happened on the show. Apparently, at the end of the chamber, the curb stomp by Seth is what was the undoing of CM Punk.
So well executed by all three guys too to be able to do that.
Look great on TV. But to just do Seth Rollins, CM Punk again feels lackluster. And we just saw Seth take out Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble. You're not going to do a Rumble without Roman, and you can't have Roman involved in the main title picture. So having a triple threat match there certainly seems like it makes a lot of sense.
Makes tons of sense.
And it softens the blow that Punk is not main eventing a Mania.
Is he going to main event one of those nights? Because you have two nights.
You do have two nights, but main eventing, I've said it a trillion times, and I'll say it now for 1,000,000,001, not main eventing with the women on the first night, I think does them a disservice. And I think if you're doing Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, that you could get to that being a big time match.
Let's talk about the women. Women's Elimination Chamber. This had the Jade Cargill return to open the show. and she takes out Naomi, who's been Bianca's tag team partner. Jade was Bianca's tag team partner before she was attacked and smashed into a car and has been on the shelf. It was a fun, exciting beginning. I thought Alexa Bliss looked really good for someone who has not wrestled a whole lot in the past couple of years. She looked fantastic. She took in her moments. Her pacing was fantastic. Liv Morgan seemed like the MVP to go through this whole thing, but it was Bianca Belair's match to win. Bianca wins. She gets the title match with Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. That's their predict. And she's one half of the women's tag team champions, which is was one half of the women's tag team champions. So that's interesting. And there's still all this stuff with Jade taking out Naomi. Where is this going?
Check the record books, guys. I called it when Jade got put through that car. I said, it'll be Naomi. All these months later, it was Naomi.
What if it's Bianca? What if Bianca turns heel the way John Cena?
It could be Bianca behind it.
Yeah.
Which I don't hate, but
I did it for Bianca. That type of thing.
Oh God. She's learning from her father-in-law. Yeah, but then the story really becomes that you want to see Jade versus Bianca and not Bianca versus Rhea. So it is a little tough. I think that you need Naomi versus Jade, which can be a Mania match in theory, or the SmackDown before Mania or something like that, to put out there, and then you can eventually reveal that Bianca's the one that did this all along. It's very possible. I don't know. I think that you could do a Bianca Rhea babyface match, and it would be okay. I think Tiffany Charlotte, I'm a little less enamored with. I don't know how that match is going to go. I think the way that their match, the way that the match went, the tag match, and it's hard to judge that tag match.
Yeah.
But that tag match on Elimination Chamber with Trish and Tiffany versus Nia and Candice was a little rough.
Of the matches on the show, I would rank it the last, but they still went out there and gave it a go.
They did, but in part of that was, Trish is again, she's not a full-time competitor and she's not 23 years old. Mm-hmm. So you're putting her in there with Nia. You're gonna have some clunky moments. It didn't help.
I thought in that circumstance for where Trish is in her career, she looked as great as you wanted her to look. And I think they should have utilized maybe Tiffany and Candice a little bit more in that match, but that's just me, being there. And also they had to go on after the Elimination Chamber, which I don't think is easy. That number 2 spot is never easy on any card.
It's not, but it's interesting because so you set up essentially Alexa Bliss, Liv Morgan coming out of Elimination Chamber based on their little interaction, which was already teased at Rumble. You're clearly setting up Roxanne Perez and Bayley. You're getting Naomi and Jade Cargill, and you're getting Bianca and Rhea. So as far as the Women's Elimination Chamber is concerned, you accomplished a lot in one match. And that's, to me, the mark of a successful match.
Successful show. You set up a bunch of different stories for WrestleMania season right now.
Oh yeah, I'm just touching on that match, but that match alone, boom. I've got a lot of things coming out of this, and they're gonna follow up with it and pick up the pace. And this is
almost like a Rumble, right? Almost like a Rumble.
Exactly like Rumble. And they planted some of those seeds at Rumble that sort of paid off here. That will pay off going forward. And I'm always critical of AEW, especially with their women's division, where they have these great matches, and then there isn't that strong of a follow up.
No.
So here it's like, all right, everyone was well thought of, was well protected, and is going to have some place to go. The women's tag match was a chance for Tiffany to get the win. Fine. That it wasn't great. Didn't offend me. What did you think in the arena of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn?
They presented it like a non-sanctioned thing. It's a big arena. They didn't use the entire building. But the crowd was really invested in it. Canadians love seeing Canadian wrestlers in a big time match, and they got that. And you could see there was a noted, effused emotion from the audience when they came out. And they took that moment when they started, and then they played it well. And then in retrospect, some people are like, "Oh, they aren't bleeding. They have barbed wire, but they're not bleeding, or there wasn't this." But at the end of the night, I think that makes more sense. Cody needed to have the bloody spot of the night, and he got it. So that made more sense. But it was brutal. It was fun. It was a really, you don't have to reinvent the wheel with these hardcore matches. And you have 2 guys that know how to deliver that type of match. And Sami can lose and still be Sami Zayn. Kevin Owens is a son of a bitch character who has this chip on his shoulder who gets shorted. They even did the spot where the referee had to run to the ring, right? And the referee, they've done that with him before, but it's effective where it's just like, no, like this guy who circumstantially gets cheated, but you just don't care because all he does is bitch and moan, right? So I love the idea, the history between them. You can go back to it. It's the 2010 version of Cena versus Orton. You can go back to these guys anytime, relatively, and they can work either together as a pair or against each other. And the relationship will always be something you can touch on. I think that's special when you can take real life friendships and turn them into, huge over the top storylines. I loved it. I did think this was the best match of the show. I felt almost like Cody and Kevin Owens at Royal Rumble, and maybe overshadowed by other things on the show. But this was a really, really great match and did a lot of work for Kevin Owens. And then Randy Orton comes out. We're going to get Orton versus Owens. We kind of knew that was where it was going. And that's a big time match for both those guys, too.
It is. I'm a little less enamored with that match than you were. I did feel that there were parts of it that did drag a little bit. And
Yes.
it took a while. Part of it, ironically enough, I will blame on production. I understand the idea of dropping the lights to make it look unsanctioned. It made the match just feel somewhat lesser than.
Oh, okay.
And I was
Live, you thought that
taken
was cool. Live, that felt
live.
because
It
it
may look cool
totally it
on
felt different than everything else on the show.
TV. It made the arena, it made the stadium feel smaller,
Okay.
which was strange. It gave it a different vibe and a different feel that to me didn't totally work. The lack of blood was made up for the fact that they were beating the hell out of each other, and Sammy's back was all welted up
Yeah.
and bruised and marked. I remember there was the Flair Foley match after the whole Nick getting called out for being a stunt man, and they
Yeah.
decided to have this match, and they were throwing real punches, and you realize real punches don't look as good as worked punches. And there were some moments in this match where some of the real stuff that was brutal didn't look as good as more of the over the top stuff.
Mm.
And I think that became a little bit of an issue. Cole was going so over the top on this, he could have been pulled back a little bit. It was like he started at a 10 and just kept it a 10 of screaming like, "You son of a bitch, you bastard, how dare you do the da 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 da," which is fine, except those were the stipulations of this match. Like this was a Sammy got hoisted by his own petard. He
Mhm.
knew what he was getting into. Kevin was allowed to do whatever he wanted. The use of the officials was fine, bringing everybody out, and they're like, Petey Williams, there's nothing he can do about this, and then pleading with him to stop and stop and stop, and then the Orton reveal after, and you're like, oh, this is where we're going, and we're writing Sammy off of TV. I would have liked to have seen this save for Mania. I think this would
Mm.
have been a bigger match for me. This felt like a panic. We needed to sell tickets. We were not at a
We
number we were at. Let's pull the ripcord and do this right here. And then we're going to get to Kevin Orton at Mania, which will feel lesser than. It'll be a
mm.
very good match. But it's not a marquee. This could compete for the main event match.
They're gonna be squarely in the middle of the show.
Squarely in the middle of the show. Solid. Feels like when they did Randy Orton, Seth Rollins all those years ago before Seth cashed in Money in the Bank when they did it in San Francisco.
And they had a fun little match where you
They
could tell
had a great match.
and they had a chip on their shoulder to be like, hey, you should have put us in a bigger spot.
And that's exactly what this feels like here. And a lot of the times feels like that with Kevin. Part of the challenge for me, and this is sort of a compliment to the match with Cody, the Cody Kevin match felt more brutal. The power bomb,
Yes.
where he was folded in half and you're like, oh no, is he dead?
Mhm.
Felt more brutal than anything I saw in this match. And I think that was, for me, what took me out of it a little bit.
Mhm. I think I enjoyed it though. I mean, I don't think you can't say it was a bad match.
Oh no,
right?
I didn't not enjoy it. I just want to
Yeah.
clarify that I'm just not. You're like
You
a
don't
10
think
out
they
of a
can-
10. I'm 7.5 or 8 out of 10 for this match.
You don't think they're going to top this? Like you don't know how they're going to top this with Owens and Orton?
I don't want them to top it.
Oh,
It's because it's kind of when you keep upping the ante and upping the ante and upping the ante, and you're using barbed wire chairs as just a spot in a match, it does lose that impact a little bit. And I think the only thing that
you could have done this at WrestleMania, then have Orton come back at Mania, and then you have Orton post Mania, right? So like, yeah,
and
I
then you're
understand.
selling tickets to your show after, and I feel like
Yes.
that would have been a fun moment because you could have had Kevin setting him up for that package pile driver. Boom, you hit Orton's music, crowd goes nuts, unadvertised Orton. Because when you look at this at the Mania card, even before they announce whoever these matches are, you're getting Cena, you're getting Cody, you're getting Jey Uso, you're getting Gunther, you're getting Logan Paul, you're getting CM Punk, you're getting Roman Reigns, you don't need to advertise Randy Orton. He's not going to sell any more tickets than what you've already sold.
True. Okay. But then people get him and they're happy. Yeah.
He's a big surprise and people are like, oh man, what a cool surprise at Mania. This did feel a little bit knee jerk. See, I said it right this time, in terms of trying to get you to fill out this building because they know it's two Canadians and hey, they're going to have fun fighting each other at the Skydome. So the Rogers Center. But I did like that. By the time we get to Kevin and Orton, it's not as personal, but they'll find a way to kind of get there. And I don't know if it'll top the greatest match ever, the Randy Orton Edge match that was billed as the greatest match ever. I'm with you on the men's chamber, by the way. I thought this was it was laid out beautifully. You got a number of fun moments. Drew getting caught off guard because he becomes so singularly obsessed with his quests for revenge that he winds up getting caught and pinned was fun. Him attacking.
There was a report that he was going to win this. There was a report maybe 2 or 3 days before that he was the slotted winner for this.
Oh, that's adorable. No. It was not the slotted winner. I have not heard that from anyone, but that's great that they float that out there.
Yes.
And they should do more of that. They should, because there's
how often do you think WWE does that?
I don't think they care. I think part of it is there's internal share drives that exist. And when we used to post the run sheets, we would kayfabe the run sheets for what gets posted internally. So the writers would know the full script, but hey, everyone's got to know where things are laid out. You got to know where to put spots and build bumpers and graphics and all that. So there would be a slightly kayfabe version of the run sheet. And we would see stuff from that slightly kayfabe run sheet wind up online. And it was frustrating, but anybody theoretically in the organization could access that share drive. So if you're in the graphics department or the merchandise department or ticketing, you can go into that. The advantage that they have is most people who work at WWE, not to burst your bubble, guys, could give a rat's ass about wrestling. They are there because this is a global company. It pays well. It's located adjacent to New York. It was a great company to work for. I know there's the reports now, people upset about pay and whatnot, but just generally speaking, if you're going to live in that area, it's a great company to be an employee of, even if you don't love wrestling as a product. And I've worked for tech companies. I don't know what the hell they do half the time. It's not a product or service I'm necessarily using personally, but it's a great place to work. And that's how a lot of those people, so you can put it in a share drive. They're not worried that, Peggy in accounting is going to go into the system and be like, oh my gosh, they're doing Undertaker, Great Khali. But there are some folks who dig and find and want to, build credibility and push those ideas out there. They're not going to take the time to start planting stories for the most part. But
we have people in the comments saying that they're doing that, but I don't think that's the case. But I will. It's worth noting is Triple H said his favorite thing is this didn't get out. This didn't the big moment at the end of the night was Cena turning heel and joining The Rock and setting up this huge match at WrestleMania. Well, mind you, he set up the match by winning the Elimination Chamber, right?
So I was going to say. So before we even get to that, so you have this situation where Drew gets eliminated by Priest, then costs Priest his shot. So you can still go that path of Drew and Priest at Mania. Kind of feels like a Kevin Owens Randy Orton match where this should be bigger than it is, but there is a story and you can get there, and these guys can go out there and I'd say kill it, but do their best to try and kill it.
But there's guys who can get a bad slot, or women on the show who can get a bad slot, and they go out and they may not even get the most time in the show, but they had the best match on the show. You can steal WrestleMania and not be in the main event. It is doable. It's been done.
I'd say Jacob Fatu stole the weekend based on what he did on SmackDown was probably better than almost everything there was on Elimination Chamber. Like there are guys who maximize their minutes.
I had a lot of people who were coming out of the show like, how is he not on the show? How is he not worked into this in some way or something?
You don't need him.
No,
I think it was smart to not put him on this show and save that a little bit. But you've set up Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre. Logan Paul being this obnoxious Weasley heel, he looked great in this match. For a dude who has not worked a ton of matches, knocked it out of the park.
He is an easily hateable, detestable person, and he plays that character, and he emphasizes it, right? But his time, why was he not doing this years ago? Like the whole time I watched it, I was like, there is so much money that could have been made with you if you just started doing this even earlier, you
Because he
know?
was busy becoming a very popular global brand in worlds that we don't
Yes,
necessarily traipse
that
in.
we don't even follow. Yeah.
No, it's like meant nothing to me. And then my daughter's like, "Did you know he created like a Lunchable snack thing that had mold in it?" And I was like,
Yes.
"No, no." I knew he was a Disney Channel kid, and I know there was something controversial he did in Japan in a
Mhm.
sacred forest, and they were like, "You're, to hell with you."
And Prime
Um,
Drink is everywhere. Like this
Prime
guy's
drinks everywhere.
everywhere.
It was in the airport. It was all over the place. Um, the elimination of Seth Rollins to get you to that John Cena CM Punk face off, because they teased it a couple times during the match, and then when you got there and there was the handshake and the hug, you're like, dude, this is great. This is a great moment that they're giving the audience. Seth being the reason that Punk lost, rather than beating Punk clean, so you still save the John Cena heel turn, and John Cena not winning clean was kind of an interesting decision before you ultimately get to the heel turn afterwards, and everyone kind of has something to do,
Mhm.
and I think that's what's huge.
Yeah. This is what you want. All the plates are spinning, This is what you want. And I just like I walk into the show, like I heard some people say, "Oh, this was this," and it was like, "But are you feeling good about this? Like, if you're a WWE fan, are you feeling good about this? If you're even a casual fan, a diehard fan, all the different things you want are on this show. And if you're reaching, and this isn't me being like, "Oh, I'm a homer and I'm just rooting for WWE." No, I think they're listening to the audience. They're really trying to pay off with long-term storytelling. Mania should have a payoff. It should have a huge payoff. And there's a potential for us to get that either good or bad. We can get Empire Strikes Back or we can get Return of the Jedi at WrestleMania. And we can get either one of those. And I think that's really cool. It's also a challenge with 2 nights of WrestleMania. They're spinning all the plates that they can spin. I think they're doing a pretty strong job with this. And what do you think they're going to do kind of on Raw and SmackDown to get there? We have Rhea and Io Sky tonight. We have an Intercontinental Championship tonight as well with Lyra and Ivy Nile. We have a tag team match, the War Raiders and American Made. A bunch of big names going to be on the show. Keep this thing moving, huh?
Oh, speaking of plate spinning, and we got to
Mm.
get there was a lot on this thing to talk about here. But guys, are you ready to optimize your nutrition this year?
Mm.
Factor has chef-made gourmet meals that make eating well easy. They're dietitian approved and they're ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes, so you can fuel right and feel great no matter what life throws at you. Factor arrives fresh and fully prepared, perfect for any active, busy lifestyle. It says here you can lose 8 pounds in 8 weeks with Factor keto meals. I've been doing Factor since early February. I'm down 25 pounds. This
25
stuff
pounds.
knocks it out the park. It is an absolute game changer for me. And as a guy who can't cook, it's amazing. As soon as I'm done recording the show, pop one of these in the microwave. It's done in 2 minutes. My father-in-law, who was watching the kids over the weekend here, texts me and he goes, "Hey, I see you have this stuff in the fridge. Mind if I heat one up?" Thinking it's going to be like one of these lean cuisines. I'm
Yeah.
like, "Go for it." Went nuts for it. Thought this was
What's
the
what's
greatest
your
thing ever.
what's your favorite Factor meal? What's your favorite one?
There is a chicken chimichurri that I don't know how the hell they did it, but it tastes amazing. That's a legit. It's really damn good. And you guys can eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/Factor Podcast. Use code Factor Podcast and get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code Factor Podcast at factormeals.com/Factor Podcast to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Um,
Alarms are
John,
going off. Go ahead.
alarms are going off. It's the John Cena alarm here. So yeah, they
Ba, ba,
stacked
ba.
this. They stacked this Raw tonight perfectly because there are 3 title matches on there. So you're getting the women's world title match, Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, to tease. Hey, maybe there's a chance we're getting Io Sky, Bianca Belair. We're not, but let's pretend that we're going to tease that.
I
That
did
would be
like that they even teased that last night when they did like a face off at the end of the show. They even made sure that Io was a part of it. I thought that was good. Good.
brilliant. It was a really smart idea on their part to make it seem like, hey, this is a good idea. Lyra Valkyria, Ivy Nile for the Women's Intercontinental Championship, and the World Tag Titles, the War Raiders versus American Made, which means there is a possibility that Gable, with his Lucha Whisperer, appears, and all of a sudden American Made has a bunch of gold.
Who is that Lucha Whisperer?
I have joked and then slightly not joked. I wouldn't mind if it was Vicky Guerrero.
She would be perfect.
She would be perfect, and it'd be great for Dom to see his stepmom.
Oh, if she was, yes, if you saw this stuff, but if she became like the secondary talking piece for American Made, and she was almost like a MAGA type of like character, you know what I mean? Like a MAGA Karen type character, she would be awesome for that. That's a great idea, Robert. I would love to see that.
It's
That
the
would be
only the
amazing.
only downside to it is Gable's such a good mouthpiece too.
He
And
is.
I don't know if he
He is.
necessarily needs it, but it could. I think that could be pretty fun. And yeah, the big thing here is you're going to get everybody kind of reacting to what John Cena did, and the long term storytelling for this heel turn, where it's fun, is every match he's going to be in now is going to feel fresh, and the most interesting one of those is going to be him and CM Punk, because this is, hey, you did the thing that we never thought you were going to do,
Mm-hmm.
and now I have to reconcile with that.
Mm-hmm.
That could be pretty interesting. You can get to Cena Roman if Cena
Mm-hmm.
wins the title. Lot of fun things at
If
play
Cena
here.
wins the title, you can do kind of all of his classic hits again in some way or another.
You
I've
get
heard
one
other
more
people pitch
Cena
that.
Orton out of this deal here. It's very hard to judge 2 days in, for a lot of you, for me an hour and a half in, where this is ultimately going to go. But you can't deny, love it, hate it, doesn't matter, that WrestleMania is not now more intriguing than it was a couple of days prior. And no one who watched Elimination Chamber on Saturday came away from that saying, I'm not watching WrestleMania now.
No, no, and
That's the success, guys.
the risk of doing an angle after an elimination chamber match, just me being there live, I was like, you gotta make a moment here. You can't just have a promo and a match is made, and Cody, even if and you got the pop of Cody telling The Rock to F off, which is a very calculated use of your PG-13 limitations, right, on a streaming partner. And it played into the history because The Rock told Cody to do the same thing a year ago. And I felt like you can't have Cody turn heel. Like you cannot insult your father's legacy like he did on a belt, and don't make the dream die again. You know, like you can't do that. Was where I was. No, no, no. There's no way Cody can do that. And I know there's people that are detracting of Cody, and they're going to say Cody can't be the guy anymore. I can go to you guys and look at the Kevin Owens match. He can do it. Look at the AJ Styles match. He can do it. Like he can do this and be that guy. And if he loses the title, then everyone's going to want him to get the title back. You know, like it's kind of weird how fans get kind of fickle with this stuff. Everyone was poo-pooing on the story, was doing like a week ago, and now hooks and mouth, man. Hooks and mouth.
Here's the thing. They will be able to turn Cody heel, and eventually that crowd is going to be clamoring to see heel Cody Rhodes.
Don't think it's right now, though.
It's not
Don't
now.
think it's right now.
This would have
No.
been too soon.
Yeah.
This would have been way too premature. Guy is still what did I say about John Cena earlier on? This guy is still your merchandise seller. This guy is still your Make-A-Wish guy. Most importantly, this is the guy that younger fans are going to see.
Mhm.
This is what your 10 and under crowd wants to see. Your 12 and under crowd.
100%. My nephew's 12 years old. Like he will only reach out to me on email. He doesn't text. Like he'll email me wrestling stuff and be like, "How did John Cena do that? I really hope Cody can get him at Mania immediately." And Cody's his guy. Cody's his guy. He likes John Cena, you know. But as he's described, he's like, "Well, John Cena's your Hulk Hogan." Like I was so proud of my nephew when he told me that. He told me that, you know. I was like, "Oh, we got a little smart mark right here. I love it." But I'm feeling WrestleMania, man. Feeling it.
Yeah,
Absolutely
look,
feeling it.
Jay Uso is, crowds love him. I was in New
Yeah.
York. I saw 3 different Eat shirts, which is baffling to me. But he is not at Cody level. They have not had a Cody guy since Cena. A
Mm-mm.
pure babyface who can be the corporate champion, who can go and do the media interviews, who looks good in a suit, who's not going to embarrass the company, but who lives and breathes and loves this and will do whatever it is that they ask. That is not the guy you turn heel now just to get a fun little match.
Mhm.
When the crowd starts to truly turn on Cody, you can do that. My concern with babyface Cody versus babyface Cena was that crowd was going to turn on Cody because
Yes.
they're going to want to cheer Cena one last time, and they're
And
going to
there's
want to see him
and
break
there's
the record.
people and there's people that are going to cheer John Cena no
And
matter
they
what.
and they know that now. But
Yeah,
now, if you're that guy who's going to WrestleMania because you want to cheer heel John Cena, the thing you've asked for 22 years,
you got it.
take the ride.
Take the
Have
ride.
your reaction. Go. Am I excited to see what heel John Cena can pull out? Yes. I mean, it helped if he doesn't. One of the guys in the group called that face at the end that he did look like a Jeff Dunham puppet. But I don't care. I want to see what's going to come out of his mind, because this is the brain trust of John Cena, The Rock, Brian Gewirtz, Paul Heyman, Paul Levesque. None of these guys are going to let the ball get dropped to the point where this genuinely sucks. Even The Rock's bizarre ass promo a week ago,
Mhm.
the promo he did on SmackDown on Friday was the perfect recovery. So everyone's swimming in the same direction. Everyone wants the same level of success. This could be a lot of fun. Kevin, this was a lot of fun having you join me today. In case you're wondering where Dom is, Dom got a last minute. He's interviewing Robert Stone of NXT for an interview that will be posted sometime shortly. So that'll be a lot of fun. We weren't going to put Robert Stone on this show to talk about the John Cena situation. Don't want to do that to this guy. And honestly, if you guys tuned in and it's like, I know you wanted to hear all about this, it would have felt like the reveal of who Cartman's mom is. And instead, it's just 20 minutes of us talking with Robert Stone, who would have been fascinating, but I don't think it's what you guys were looking for here
The
today.
Denver Broncos. It's some member of the Denver Broncos.
It would have been some member of the Denver Broncos. And if there's one guy from there who knows all about Immaculate Conception, it would have been the all-time great Tim Tebow. And I love that there was a question Wrestling Old Head had here, and I can't put it up on the screen because I'm not signed in.
I can read it here. What
Sure.
could AEW theoretically do to attempt to snatch attention from WWE? This is WrestleMania season. That's one of the comparisons always made. WCW did NWO. WWF did the geriatric wrestling thing. What is AEW going to do to keep themselves? They had a solid collision on Saturday night. They did Adam Cole and Danny Garcia. They did some big stuff. They have a pay-per-view next weekend in LA. They had Timeless Tony Storm cutting a fun over-the-top promo. I think she's a very over character. What do they do in comparison to keep themselves in the conversation? That's a great question by Wrestling Old Head.
You know what it's not? You know what they don't do? John Moxley and Cope. The problem is that they really have positioned themselves in a TNA situation where it is guys who people remember from the past wrestling as your main eventers. And I had lunch on Saturday with another former WWE writer, and we were talking about the AEW world and landscape. I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to speak for him and we create a hearsay situation. But
it's Big Dick Johnson. I'll put it out there. It's Big Dick Johnson.
It would be fun to go have lunch with DJ. I haven't seen him in a while. By the way, Big Dick Johnson for years was working on Big Brother. As
good for him.
And then would be on camera playing a bunch of different characters, and I would pop every single. One of my fondest memories of WWE was riding with DJ from in the middle of the night, driving from Arkansas to Texas for a show with my iPod. And we just started playing old TV show theme songs and singing the Mr. Belvedere theme at full volume at 1:00 in the morning, driving through the Texas, from Arkansas to Texas. Wild. Anyway, this other writer who unfortunately was not Chris DeJoseph, but still a good dude.
Mm-hmm.
As I heard a weird beep behind me. We were saying if AEW's ratings are what they are, this 500,000, 600,000 viewer thing, clearly the lapsed WWE fan that is a fan of Moxley or a fan of Edge or whatever, they're not coming over. They're not saying, hey, I want to go see these other stars. So just say what the word that Cody used, F it, and put the title on Ospreay and just go full in current stars. Stars of the past, be done with them. Stars of the now. You give them Ospreay and Swerve and Hangman and MJF. Let these guys run wild for a little while. Kyle Fletcher, Konosuke Takeshita, they've got the guys. And they've got the guys to put together an in-ring product that is probably going to blow away anything WWE is going to do.
And they have the stars, like you mentioned, with Adam Copeland, with Moxley, with Jericho, where they can still utilize them in compelling storylines, but they should really be supporting characters instead of the main players, right? Is that kind of essentially what you're going
Yeah.
for?
Go back and look at that Continental Classic. Those matches were great. They told stories, they led to other stories. It felt like there was a little bit of direction and momentum, and then that kind of went away.
Mm-hmm.
So if they want to compete and they want to be the alternative brand, be the alternative brand. At the end of the day, what Tony Khan loves is one-on-one matches with clean finishes that are five-star classics. That is his favorite thing. He
Yeah.
doesn't care about long-term storylines. He doesn't care about a lot of the gaga that's going to exist elsewhere. Be the healthy competition. If WWE is doing spectacle, you can't do spectacle on a smaller scale and then wonder why it doesn't look the same. One side has fireworks, the other side has sparklers. Just go the opposite direction. Do what Paul Heyman always said he did. He would look at these shows, he would watch Nitro and he would watch Raw, and he'd go, "What can I do that's the opposite of what they're doing?"
Mm-hmm.
Be George Costanza. Do
Mm.
you not get the tuna? Get the chicken salad with a cup of tea. That's what AEW should be doing right now. And if they are the show where you're gonna get these guys who just absolutely love wrestling and they're gonna blow it out of the water every time they're in the ring, and you can care about them, because some of these guys on their own, in spite of booking, people love Osprey because Osprey has a magnetic personality. As a dude, you are drawn to. They are hooked with Hangman no matter how insane his storylines wind up getting. Kenny, I don't know how fragile or healthy he is to go long term with him, but using him, sporadically. But Kyle Fletcher, Takeshita, those guys are stars. Harley Cameron is a star.
Absolute star. Just
Run with her.
I mean, you could say the in-ring bell to bell is something where she's coming on because she's still very new to wrestling. But this is someone who is really, really talented as an entertainer overall, and obviously is a gorgeous woman who's going to catch your eye just walking to the ring. Right? All those things aside, you can use her in all these different ways, and she was a highlight of that Australia show, which had issues, other things. And she had a real test. She didn't need to win the match. She needed to look good and hang in there with a wrestler who has years ahead of her. And I think she did that, and she just eats up the minutes, maximize the minutes. She does that every time she's on television.
It's crazy to think that they have to say in 2025 they have Okada and they underutilize Okada.
Big time.
Adam Cole, Danny Garcia, I'm sure had a great match. Neither one of those guys set the world on fire for me. I think Undisputed Kingdom is another one where if those guys were to be gone tomorrow, your product isn't going to lose an eyeball.
Okay.
I don't think anybody's not tuning in because, oh my God, these guys are gone. A smaller roster focused on some great in-ring stuff, some fun personal storytelling, and trying not to be WWE is how you compete in this sort of situation. That was, ultimately what helped WWF was getting rid of their rules and things that they were doing and saying, we're going to try to do some different stuff. We're going to get behind Steve Austin. We're going to let DX do its thing. We're going to create the Attitude Era because the more family-friendly product that we were putting out there wasn't moving the needle. But on the other hand, you and I think differently than Tony thinks because it's Tony's money. It's a private company. He has a TV deal. He can do what he wants. So I don't think he cares about competing with WrestleMania. He's going to put on a big pay-per-view. It'll have some fantastic matches. And then we will come on the next day and talk about an incredibly lame and stupid moment where the big stick with spikes sticking out of it that gets used in some form or fashion.
It's called Spike.
No, I don't. We don't name. We don't give credence to named props. That's a weird, goofy thing.
This is Mike. This is Mike. I'm talking to Mike right now. This is Mike. He's with me here. It's Mike.
My prop is usually Dominic D'Angelo. He's great at it. But you're not gonna top the Cena story, and they tried with the Jarrett retirement. At the same time, you had the Cena retirement. And then
they really backed off that Jarrett angle, didn't they?
They bailed off that in a hurry. And I think you honestly want to know why I feel? Dustin ate his lunch. Dustin's whole story of I'm the last of my kind, and I've been doing this a long time. That crowd was all in on that. They did not care about Jarrett.
Which is and Jeff's a redeemed person who's gone through a lot in his
He
life and
is.
is a genuine he was literally born into wrestling, born into it, right? And loves it and has done a lot. Transgressions aside, he's a very, very, very good person who's done right by the wrestling business on the other side of other issues in his life. And I think he wants to have a fun way that fulfills ending his in-ring career and deserves that. But he finds himself in an AEW that's in a sense of uproar and turbulence. You know, I almost wish he was in TNA.
I
I
wouldn't.
almost wish he was in TNA.
I would not mind that at all.
Yeah, I almost wish he. The whole time I watched it, I was like, if he was in TNA, they could have some WWE people come over and do angles with him, and really, and it wouldn't take away too much from other things, and he would know, oh, it's a youth movement. I'm going to play a backseat, but I'll do this mid card kind of feel good sentimental thing, and they've been fine. And I guess AEW was trying to do that, but then keep it edgy, him in there with MJF. I don't know what favors MJF did with him in those promos and stuff like that either. And those were entertaining, but I don't know what it does for Jeff to move the story to the next week.
It didn't move the Jeff story because the crowd didn't care. And I think that's the issue. If the crowd
Mm-hmm.
would have been on board with it, those would have felt better. Max
Mm-hmm.
saying all the crappy things to Jarrett and then Jarrett getting his comeuppance. The problem was Max was saying all these crappy things about Jeff and the crowd going, yeah, you're right. This guy is well past his prime, and we don't care about him, and we didn't care about him back then, and we can't pretend that we have these fond memories of his TNA times, or his WCW times, or his WWF times, or his Memphis time, um, or any other company I can't think of that he worked at. So the Dustin stuff, people love Dustin, and
Yeah.
that was what made it feel more authentic. I think for Max, it was a good palate cleanser between that Adam Cole nonsense to getting to the Hangman Page stuff right now. We'll see where Hobbs is a they have so much talent to do stuff with and build and move forward on that their legacy should not be the squandered talent legacy we have with TNA, where you go, they had AJ, they had Daniels, they had Joe, you
Mm-hmm.
had Saban, Shelley, you had Punk, you had Okada, like you had Rude and like you had all these guys, and instead at the top, it's Jeff Jarrett and Pac-Man Jones versus fill in the blank who just got released.
Oh boy.
So this was our extra long edition of Rumor and Innuendo. It was a double-sized episode, but to be fair, I wasn't here Thursday and Friday. There was a lot to cover. And how often does John Cena truly turn heel? I did see someone online say if he comes out speaking Mandarin, best heel turn ever. So
Before we sign off, just want a
ahead,
short answer on this. The comparisons to Hogan in '96, him joining the NWO, that long, like the NWO is there, but that like literally makes NWO the biggest thing in wrestling at the time, and it turns the needle. And WCW truly becomes the number one wrestling promotion for like over a year and a half. That really launches the rivalry with WWE. In comparison, what does this do? Because this is WWE's already in a very, very prime position. They have the Netflix deal. They have a variety of big guys. There's no one true guy in WWE. There's a variety of different people at the top who are playing main event roles. How would you compare these heel turns between Cena doing it now in 2025 and the Hulkster going Hollywood in '96?
yeah, it's not the same for a couple of reasons. Number one, the Hogan heel turn was because Hogan was their top baby face, and that crowd was sick of him, but he was a full-time roster member. And by
Mm-hmm.
turning him heel, you suddenly got a full-time heel who was the boss. John Cena here is not the boss. He is very much a henchman for The Rock. I think this takes the pressure off of Cena's last run, that it's not babyface Cena, who we saw couldn't win over and over again,
Mm-hmm.
uh, getting a chance to finally get some wins back over some top heels. Because if it's babyface Cena, then he's going over Drew, or he's going over potentially heel Seth, or he's beating Solo, or whatever that may be. Heel Cena becomes intriguing, and whoever he's working with now gets the opportunity to play with a totally different character, and it feels new and different, but it's finite. We know
Mhm.
he's gone at the end of the year no matter what. So every match does feel important to begin with, but it's more important now because this is the first time you're seeing main event heel monster John Cena. And that makes it feel fresher than if it's the John Cena nostalgia tour. He's going to come out in the jorts and doff his cap. And hey, I'm going to, that moment he had with Punk in the match where they shook hands and hugged, you would have gotten that 10 times for the rest of the year. That's
Mhm.
all gone now.
And you can
This is
do that
now,
again before he's done.
you definitely can. You can get a last minute feel good, happy, happy, joy, joy. But this is a dude who's, hey, I'm going to try something different and I'm going to help the business and leave it better than I found it. And I think that's why this is commendable. Whereas the Hogan heel turn was, how can I position myself as the top in the company? This feels like John saying, what can I do to get the most buzz for this organization? Because respectfully, guys, I don't need it. I got season 2 of Peacemaker coming out. I got a ton of movies lined up. Hollywood's putting me in stuff. I'm the face of McDonald's. Like,
I
I'm here
freaked
to
out.
help.
I went to the McDonald's kiosk, like the kiosk, and you punch in the things, and it's all just this. And then I see John Cena like right in front of me. Just they have him in like some interstitial animation. It was like, oh yeah,
How'd you
he's
see
John
him?
Cena. Like he can do this.
I
It
can't
was.
believe you saw him. This is what's fun about it. There's a lot of intrigue going on. Like the build to Mania last year went haywire in the best ways possible, and then everything wound up being just fine. This year, the build to Mania, but everyone was like, this is lackluster, and Jey Uso and Gunther, everything's gone haywire. Things are going to be just fine. And whether they are or not, I will be here every Monday through Friday at noon live on a plethora of platforms, including the WW Creative _ Ish X account, the at Essie Scoops X account, the at Dominic D'Angelo X account on YouTube, on Rumor and Innuendo ad-free shows, and Working Stiff. And if you enjoy the musings of Kevin Kellum, you can follow him on X at Kev Kellum. And Kev, I know you do a bunch of Sportskeeda stuff. I don't know why it's so hard for me to say. Even though I said it right, it still sounds weird. Plug away, my man.
Yeah, you can just check out Sportskeeda Wrestling on YouTube. We just did a bunch of different content. I've been working on a project which I think we may have to alter a little bit. That is a complete career retrospective of John Cena. That is about 3.5 hours long. It's one of those things where you watch a little bit of it, then you come back to it, and you come back to it.
Gotta
And
love when that's already stale.
and we spent like weeks and weeks working on it, and now the entire feeling of it is like, oh boy, we have to make some changes. But I did do a breakdown of why this is such a big angle. If you want to hear me talk more about it, that I recorded in the bathroom of a weird Toronto hotel at 2 a.m. Just to get it out there. That is up right now. Sportskeeda Wrestling on YouTube. You can also get the podcast, which has a whole bunch of different stuff. We have Backstage Pass, premium content on there, all the good stuff. And check me out on Q101 Radio in Chicago. I will be recording my first stand-up comedy album coming up in August. I'll announce all of that pretty soon.
Amazing. Well, on behalf of Kevin Kellum, Dominic D'Angelo, and all of us here at Rumor and Innuendo, best of luck in your future endeavors.